we need to talk about Rihanna becoming a billionaire and then using child labor in order to make her makeup, abroad.
Well,
Like that.
remember, because of Neil Katyal's eloquent argument on behalf of Nestle, that it's okay for Rihanna to use child slavery as long as she's a corporation.
What? Wait, hold on. How?
Oh, to have both full personhood and limited liability.
Yeah, right. Right. This would be and when you have a legal argument like for a person to do this would be completely illegal and totally immoral, but there's no mechanism to stop a corporation, so it's okay in this case.
What? No, and no.
No.
It's not. It's not okay to use slave or child labor because
the Supreme Court said that Nestle can use child slavery because it's a corporation, and that's okay.
Well, fuck the Supreme Court.
Well, yes, of course, for many, many, many reasons.
Like, hold on, wait a minute. Like, no, this is just immorally wrong.
This is another example why, even if we could elect a Green Party president, it would not solve our structural problems.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, honestly, without wanting to advocate violence in any way, the Supreme Court is one of those problems of American politics that requires an abolitionist solution.
Agreed.
You're not advocating for violence, you're advocating for self-defense. My thing is that's just evil.
Well, yes, it is. Thank you.
The wild thing was to see PragerU go on a whole thing last week, put out a video about green energy uses child labor. Where is your energy for this when Rihanna is becoming a billionaire off of child labor? Where is your energy for this when Nestle workers are, being abused by their corporation? Where is your energy for this any other time? It's so ridiculous how the conservatives always love to pull out victimized people as a shield during moments of absolute convenience and then throw them away again.
Yeah. Okay. So here's a funny part. If it's something that will benefit everyone, well, you can't do it because it's giving us child labor, blah blah blah.
That's right.
But when it's capitalist, it's you're making young people responsible. Good. We want them to start working at 5 years old in mines. It's just like what the hell? There's moving the goalpost and straw mans and all that bullshit.
There is a whole book that goes all the way back to the 1970s called The Underground History of Education, which teaches some actual true important things about the ways that corporations have shaped our public education system.
Oh, well, that's for sure.
And accurately points out the problems that too much corporate power has wrought in public education, because corporations have had more control over our public education than our government has, historically speaking, from the very beginning of our public education.
Yeah, because public education is basically built like factories. You have basically kids that are pulled into classes by their manufacture date, and then there's sat in 20 30 person classes, and then they have to be let it go by bells and whistles. They have to continuously stand in line in single file. And
it's to train you to work in a factory, literally.
Yes, it literally was. To be able to handle boring, repetitive tasks for long periods of time.
And also to accept the idea of specialized knowledge
Yes.
And being told things by people who know more than you.
Yes.
And to not really understand how shit works.
And really importantly, to not speak out in class and to not question authority.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And to learn how to do what you're told.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. There was not funny. It was interesting. I was watching a video by Sir Ken Robinson called "Changing Education Paradigm."
The comment on, yes, John Taylor Gatto has some important perspectives on the insidiousness of our educational system. Yes, but then his solution is put everybody into the workforce at 14. At which point you turn around and you say, no.
Yeah, no.
And we talk about moving. You were talking about moving the goalposts earlier, James. How the capitalists are always doing that. When you put that whole put people into the workforce at 14. Listen, I grew up poor. I had jobs before the age of 10. Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So because I had to. All right. So listen, you'll always be told, oh yeah, we're going to put them into the workforce at the age of 14 so that they work hard and they learn the value of that, and then they become, you know, they're more stable and whatever later. Except that the minute that you have those people working hard, you're going to move those goalposts and say, well, actually, the people that invested really are they deserve to benefit the most.
Yeah.
And so that's the absurdness of a take like that, of saying, oh yeah, let's put people into the workforce at 14, is that the system will not give those people back anything resembling what they are going to give to the system. If you go into the workforce at 14, you are giving up your very body to capitalism in a way that people cannot understand if they have not had to go through it. And the system is not going to give you anything back for that.
No.
That's right. No. And this is good. Put the rich kids to work in the mines then. Yeah, it's never the rich kids who are subjected to this.
Yeah.
The rich kids have their private schools where they might actually learn something.
Mm-hmm. We have to strike a balance between discipline and freedom. Music is the highest expression of this that I know of. Yeah, and I think that, you know, getting a job at 14, having to work at 14 while basically taking away your childhood, to me, is just wrong. I mean, you can say, you know, starting work at 16. I'd say that starting work after you get your education, that's what I honestly think. Because you have to have that education. But part of that education is through work, but it should be measured at the appropriate age so that you learn the work that you are getting an education for. So let's say hypothetically you want to work, you know, for architecture, right? Then you're getting schooled on the aspects of architecture while you're in high school, so that by the time, and then you also get a job that is, you know, a few hours a week, not very long, to learn more about the job on the job. So you're getting the school of the hard knocks, and you're also getting the book knowledge, and it's being put together. But it's not taking away from your childhood. You're just graduating a little bit more as far as work time. So it's almost like it's almost kind of like a sliding scale. It's like the older you get and the less education you need, then it'll go more towards work. So it's like you'll never have to do more than, you know, 30 hours a week of school and work. So you'll have, like, if you're doing 15 hours a week of school, then you're doing 15 hours a week of work. If you're doing 20 hours a week of school, you're only doing 10 hours a week of work, you know, something like that. But so that you can enjoy your life, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think one
I don't
issue.
know. Maybe I'm just wrong on everything.
No, I think I agree with you on some levels. I think one issue though is that the work has to be meaningful for this to work out. One of the problems that we have now is a lot of work. Like this comment actually is great. Kids need light chores. What does that really freaking mean? Like, I agree that like there are ways that like work can teach kids things and be good, but it has to actually be some kind of meaningful work. If you just give the kids meaningless chores, they aren't going to learn anything from it. And one of the problems that we have right now is that a lot of times, what's the first job that a lot of kids get when they're in high school or right out of high school?
Fast food,
right? Food service or some other kind of service job, right? You don't learn anything doing those jobs, really. You learn a few things, but you don't learn a lot. You mostly, it's just a grind every day of like monotony, because labor is very specialized and you're not learning like a skill or a trade.
I learned how to make a sandwich.
Holistic. Yeah, you learn how to make a slightly better sandwich than maybe you learn how to make at home or something like that. But you don't learn like holistic skills that will actually really take you far in life. That's one of the biggest issues we have now. And a lot of these people who idealize the idea of like, you know, when you're a teenager, find a job that, you know, will help you get ahead in life. They're imagining a time in the past that is long gone, gone, hundreds of years gone.
So I'm gonna kind of take both points and kind of mix them together, because I went to culinary school and then I had to work in fast food as part of my apprenticeship. So it kind of helped me to become better as far as being a line cook, because I had to develop my speed. I had developed my, you know, working with others. I had to develop different ways of cooking when I was doing that. But at the same time, it wasn't something that I had to stay in for a long period of time. You graduate from that type of work to a different type of work that's more deeper and meaningful.
Yeah.
In theory.
So, I will say this too, just as a caveat for the record, although I am downplaying a little bit the complexity of line cooking in a specific context, I will also say that line cooking is a more skilled and difficult job than like at least half of the jobs in America, period. Like it is in the upper 50% of skill level, but it's still something that you don't really need a 10-year apprenticeship to become a line cook.
Of course.
But
that apprenticeship is still none of the less important, because it's the basic skills. That apprenticeship at that fast food place is learning, you know, your addition and subtraction. When you get to line cooking, then that's when you're getting to like the calculus and trigonometry. So you need that base first in order to learn further.
Yeah.
Savvy says, teach kids about credit, how to lease apartments, skills they need, instead of reading Beowulf every year.
Well, so
no one taught me how to apply for an apartment.
I will defend Beowulf just a little bit in that to the quote unquote liberal arts, which everybody loves to trash. The liberal arts are what they have tried to drive out of schools. And the reason that the liberal arts are what they have tried to drive out of schools is because the first question asked after you read something like Beowulf is, well, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
You have to be able to make a critical evaluation of Beowulf.
Well, critical thinking, definitely, yeah.
You have to be able to decide what's good and bad about the way Beowulf was constructed if you're studying a certain level of liberal arts. Or you have to be able to decide what's good and bad about how Beowulf speaks to you as art.
But real talk, can we stop reading The Great Gatsby, though? I literally had to read that 3 times in school.
So here's the big thing. We need to stop forcing people to read the specific same books over and over again. And instead, we need to encourage a love of reading, which is a very different thing from forced repetitive reading of specific texts.
Very different. Agreed. I do want to say though, I do love what Sabby said though, on like a personal level of just like, I grew up poor. I learned a lot of shit in school that I didn't need to know at all. And on the other hand, I was not taught how to apply for an apartment. I was not taught how to transfer utility bills into my name and pay them.
Yeah.
I was not taught how to balance a budget. I was not taught how to file my taxes. Like the list of things that we are not taught in school is kind of appalling.
Yeah. Yeah. That's another thing that we should have a conversation about. Further, I actually had a video about education with Mike. Oh my God, policy above all. So we had a really good conversation. It was primarily gearing towards technical and vocational education, and I think you guys should check that out too on the JB show. Savvy says they can take those imaginary numbers back to I never use imagine.
No, and that's and that's something that and this is something that is very worth talking about. STEM is one of the things they want everyone to learn. STEM is something that can be very specifically exploited.
Yeah.
STEM is something that is great for capitalists. They would love for there to be too many engineers in America, because that drives the market value of American engineers down and allows them to hire engineers more cheaply. So when we're telling our kids, become an engineer and make money, what we're actually doing is creating the conditions by which corporations don't have to pay engineers a lot of money anymore.
Well, I mean, look at, and we're about to, close out, but look at, higher degrees. Like everybody with a higher degree. I mean, this country is oversaturated with degrees that are starting at, bachelor's degree and up. And so it's like everybody has a degree now, and it's like, wait a minute, yeah, you have a degree, but so does 15 other people that are applying for this job, and it only pays like $13 an hour. So I think a living wage is a conversation that needs to happen, as well as getting more people into vocational and technical school, because there's a lot of those positions that are, not as plentiful as they used to be. I think we need to have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
Kennedy, you're in farming. I think we need a lot more people in farming, local farming, so that we are able to actually feed America the way a human should be fed, not by this factory farming BS that we have.